Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. And are the Phillies currently using too many platoons at too many positions? We'll break that down on today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk radio space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic doing sports talk radio for a little over 5 years. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure that you're rating and reviewing. If you're checking us out in podcast form, we're available wherever you get your podcasts. If you're checking us out on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel to get yourself notifications when new episodes are posted. It's free. It's easy. It's also a big, big help to us if you subscribe to the YouTube. So I appreciate everyone who's done that. You have to bear with me. I got a cough drop in my mouth right now because my voice is just kind of going on me. I've been talking more on the radio side, so voice ain't holding up too well. But bear with me, and we'll be all good. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Go ahead and check out our friends over at Game Time. The Phillies had a nice little off day yesterday as they traveled down to Tampa Bay to take on the Rays, minor league stadium. We'll see. The Rays are not that good of a baseball team. You should be able to win this series as well. It should be the Phillies' 4th straight series win. Some of the pitching matchups in this series are really, really in favor of the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll get into a look at the Rays in the final segment. But first, we're going to talk about if the Phillies have too many platoon spots currently with the team, what those platoons mean and what's going on there. And we're also going to have a debate about the road record and just kind of break some more numbers down on how the Phillies, well, sure, they have been struggling on the road, but are they struggling compared to their peers? And who have they played to lead to those struggles? Are they competitive teams? So a lot of interesting breakdown stuff in today's episode, but let's start with the platoons discussion. So right now, by my count, the Philadelphia Phillies have 3 different platoons currently ongoing with the team. The first one is obvious. It's center field. It's Rojas. It's Marsh. Now that Brandon Marsh is back up with the team, he and Marsh are going to be splitting time in center field. Marsh against righties, Rojas against lefties. I know that drives people insane because Rojas was pretty solid when Marsh was down with an injury in the minor leagues, rehabbing and everything. Marsh has been really bad, but hey, he had an RBI double over the weekend. He looked like he was hitting the ball a little bit better down in the minors and, well, got an RBI and a hit when he came up. Maybe he's figuring some stuff out. Bottom line is that's going to be a platoon for a while. That's not changing anytime soon. They're going to give both of those guys opportunities to play out there because neither of them have truly pulled away from what the expectations are and said, oh, I'm much better than you think I am. Rojas has been better, but there still have been these mind-numbing defensive plays and these miscues. And still that doesn't hold the candle to Brandon Marsh's struggles this year where he's been basically unusable. So that's why they're platooning in center field. In left, there is now a bit of a platoon going on. Max Kepler has been really, really good lately. He's shown off the power. He's starting to create some of the lift in his swing once again. You see some of his home runs most of his home runs are like these line drive home runs. He doesn't really hit the Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Titanic moonshot ones. He's more of like a lefty JT Realmuto where it's just, you're going to have to really hit one on a low trajectory to get one out. Now maybe he'll start lifting even more and start to hit some of those long bombs that he was known for at his time in Minnesota a couple of years back before he kind of fell off a cliff. But Max Kepler in left, since Weston Wilson returned from the injured list, has been part of a quasi-platoon out there. Kepler has not hit lefties well at all this year. And he hasn't really gotten much of the opportunity to get into a rhythm against them. But they've been going Weston Wilson against lefties, Max Kepler against righties. So 2 platoon spots next to each other in the outfield. And then the other one is a slightly different type of platoon. But at second base, they've kind of platooned Edmundo Sosa and Bryson Stott. Now, not all platoons are created equal. And this is why I don't think the Phillies have – well, I do think the Phillies have too many platoon spots, but I don't know if I count the second base one, because the platoon, to me, like, why people get upset at having players alternate time at the same position is because usually that means neither of them are good enough to play every day. And that sucks, because for a World Series contending team, you do want 9 players out there that are good enough to play every day. Let's roll that lineup back over and over and over again. Now, no roster in baseball has the same 9 guys out there. No, not even the Dodgers. There are constantly changes in the lineup, trying to figure out who's hot, who's not, who can field, who hits lefties, who hits righties. So this is not a Phillies specific issue, but normally you'll see on the really good teams 1 or 2 of these spots. The Phillies have 3, and that could be troubling to some. But in center field, it's exactly what I was just describing. Neither of those guys, Marsh or Rojas, are good enough to fully take over the position, at least in the Phillies' estimation. Now, I think both of the guys can play to some extent at the major league level. I don't know what that extent is. I think the Phillies are still trying to figure that out, but they're also trying to survive until either they call up for Justin Crawford or maybe they make a trade for a right-handed power outfield bat later on in the season. That's going to remain a platoon, though. There's no changing that. We knew that coming into the season, so it doesn't bother me too much. Left field bothers me a little bit because Kepler started to get hot, right? This is probably the platoon that worries me the most. Kepler started to get really hot, but so is Weston Wilson. Well, less so, but Weston Wilson's had a couple of home runs since he's come back to the Phillies from being on the injured list to start the year. Max Kepler's homered 4 times in the last 8 games, I believe the numbers say. He's been red hot, and the ceiling of Kepler, I think, is above the ceiling of what you're looking at with Weston Wilson. But I don't know. Weston Wilson's career numbers, they continue to intrigue me. They should intrigue you as well. Like, all the guy has done at the major league level was hit. And for everyone was like, oh, well, he's an older player. He wasn't one of these top prospects. Why'd he spend so much time in the minors? Like, he's going to cool off eventually. Don't you kind of want to ride that heat check until he does? And the same could be said about Kepler. Dude had a 36 home run season at the major league level. It was ages ago. But I don't want to see a hot streak for him and be like, yeah, you're sitting on Sunday against the Diamondbacks in the series ender. Now, I get it. Lefty, lefty splits. Okay. But that left field one is kind of tricky to me because neither of those guys are like concrete, surefire things. But both of them seem to have like some upside right now. And I worry that playing both of them is going to kill the upside for both of them. Like, neither are going to be able to get consistent at bats. Neither are going to keep this hot streak going. That would be my worry with the left field position. And second base is the one that worries me the absolute least, because second base is not a normal platoon. The reason the Phillies are platooning at second base between Bryson Stott and Edmundo Sosa has very, very, very little to do with Stott's performance. It has much more to do with Sosa's performance. Stott has been a guy that has been awesome in the leadoff spot. He has been really, really good. Remember when some idiot podcast host, I think it was like Locked On Phillies or something, said, I don't really like Bryson Stott in the leadoff spot. I don't really like him in that position where, okay, we don't really know what he is as a hitter yet. I'd rather have it be Trey Turner, a veteran guy, Kyle Schwarber, a veteran guy. I don't really love that it's Bryson Stott because if he struggles, the Phillies' top of the lineup is in trouble. Well, he hasn't struggled, and I feel like a moron forever even bringing that up because he has been really, really good. He's, of course, plus defensively. And the problem with Stott is the team doesn't really trust him to hit against lefties, right? That's what it would seem like they're telling you. Well, I don't know if that's true because they have let him hit against some lefties this year. It seems that the strategy at second base is, okay, if you're facing a tough lefty, a guy with a really tough arm slot, a guy that has really, really heavy splits, I get lefties out, I don't get righties out. Then you're going to go with Edmundo Sosa over Bryson Stott. And it's not because Stott has not earned the right. It is because Edmundo Sosa has absolutely earned the right to be on the field. He's been incredible. So trust me, if you took, I talked about this on the radio yesterday, if you took minor league infielder X, whoever that is, just a random guy from AAA, and you called him up and you put him on this team and you said, Edmundo Sosa, Thanos snapped. He's gone from existence. He never existed. And you just replaced him on this team with a right-handed hitting second baseman that was like a AAA guy or like a depth guy. Bryson Stott would be playing every day. Edmundo Sosa's just been that good at the dish that you can't keep him out of the lineup. And you get the added advantage because Stott is your only left-handed hitting infielder at a position Edmundo Sosa plays. Does not play first base. Harper, obviously, over there. You're not taking Harper out of the lineup because he's Bryce Harper. But he gives you the added bonus of you can work handedness into the conversation when you – because, like, if he played for Bohm, both righties. Played for Turner, both righties. And that doesn't mean he can't do that, and he's going to do that at points to get those guys rest. But it makes the most sense to have him bounce back and forth with Stott to counter out the tough lefties, even though I do think Stott has earned the right to face more lefties and more tough lefties based on what he's done this year. So second base platoon doesn't bother me because either of those guys playing is a good thing. Center field platoon is kind of the one we were prepared for going into the season. So that doesn't bother me because, hey, neither of those guys feel like an everyday player to me right now. And then left field is where it gets really sketchy because I think both of those guys have really intriguing upside at this moment of the season. Maybe not long-term, maybe not for the postseason, but right now I want to see Weston Wilson get a bunch of at-bats, and I want to see Max Kepler get a bunch of at-bats, and they can't both do that. So that's the one that bothers me most. So I would say the Phillies have one too many platoons, and it's the one in left field. Also, if you just need further proof that the outfield situation is still a question mark for the Phillies, if you think, oh, well, Dave Dombrowski's probably forgot about it now that this team's winning games, maybe you won't do something at the trade deadline. You got a platoon in left and a platoon in center on a World Series hopeful team. That's not good enough, right? So hopefully they fix the one in left field. Hopefully they fix the one in center field. Second base one, if that stays because Stott and Sosa keep hitting, then it stays. And we're totally fine with that because both of those players deserve to be out there. So too many platoon spots? Yeah, right now probably. Is that a long-term problem for the Phillies? I don't think so. They're just trying to kind of figure stuff out as the season goes along. Speaking of figuring out as the season goes along, we're trying to figure out why the Phillies have not been able to win consistently on the road. And if their road record is comparable to some of their other peers, or are they behind the eight ball when it comes to that? We will discuss the Phillies' struggles on the road ahead of a big road trip, well, 6-game road trip, as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about Monarch money first because this happens to everybody, right? You check your bank account and you wonder where in the world did all your money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money, they're not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center that you can use to track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. And now I budget smarter, I save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, I use Monarch to check my finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals all in the one same app. It's a super easy way to do it. Shows you everything in a very convenient package. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. And make sure you use code LOCKEDONMLB as well. Because when you use that code, again, that's LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com, you'll get 50% off your first year. One more time, that's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Go ahead and check out our friends at Monarch Money. So the Phillies' road record is intriguing, and not in the good sense so far this year. They are 6-9 on the road so far. We talked about this briefly on yesterday's podcast. They're 13-6 at home. So that's a pretty big difference there in win-loss record. They're 7 games over 500 when you go on the road, and they are 3 games under 500. They're 7 games over at home. Yeah, I think that's what I said. 3 games under on the road. You get it. 6-9 on the road, 13-6 at home. Now, who does that put them in company with? I'm looking at some of the other teams that have like 6 road wins, just to give you an idea. The Houston Astros, who are 17-17, clean 500, they have 6 road wins this year. The Texas Rangers, 17-18, they have 5 road wins this year. St. Louis Cardinals, 17-19, they have 4 road wins this year. I mean, you look at some of these teams that are around or below 500. There is no other team above 500 that has less than 8 road wins so far this season besides the Philadelphia Phillies. So basically, when you're looking at teams above 500, the Phillies are the bottom of the barrel of that in road wins. And that's, I guess, a problem. I don't know. I see. Part of me says you shouldn't care, especially in May, whether or not they're winning games on the road or at home, because ultimately you're going to play a bunch of games at home and your record is going to be what it is. You win enough on the road if you're a good baseball team. But the projection is to October, right? And if there becomes some fatal flaw of this Phillies team where it's like, oh, they are not comfortable going to other teams' stadiums, well, that means their seeding in the postseason is uber important. I don't want it to be because, one, the NL West is stacked. I don't know what's going on in that division, but there are some damn good teams. And the Dodgers are probably going to be the top overall seed in the National League if you just assume out based on skill level of the team. And if they're not, well, it could be the Padres. And if they're not, it could be the Giants or the Diamondbacks. Like, they have some good teams out there. And then the Mets they're playing really good baseball too. It's early right now, but you may not win your division if you don't pick it up a little bit as the season goes along. It's not time to have that conversation about will the Phillies win the division. My point is this. They're not exactly a shoo-in for the number one overall seed in the National League, which means they're going to have to play away playoff games. And they may have to play more away playoff games than they do home playoff games. And if that's going to happen, and people look at their record and say, wow, this team, they got to go on the road, and they were not good on the road in the regular season, that doesn't only affect the fan base. Trust me, these guys think about that as well. They go, okay, well, we've struggled on the road this year. We'd much rather play at the bank. And, you're going to have to win. Think back to those Atlanta series the past couple of years, or I guess 2 years ago and 3 years ago. You're going to have to win a tough game on the road in the postseason if you're going to win those series as an underdog. And the Phillies right now, well, they haven't had a great road record. So this is definitely something to keep an eye on. Now, there are plenty of teams that are worse. The Rockies have won 2 on the road, White Sox 3, Pirates 5, Marlins 4, Orioles 5, Twins tied at 6, Braves 6, Blue Jays 5, Cardinals 4. Like, yeah, there are other teams with less road wins than the Phillies, but the Phillies' expectation is significantly higher, and their record significantly higher because they have the tied for the third most home wins in all of baseball. So really good at home, not so good on the road. Is there something about their schedule that maybe is contributing to this? Because sometimes you just start the season against some tough teams on the road. We know they started in Washington on the road and won that series 2-1. So that's good. Then their road games have been against Atlanta, place that they always play tight games. St. Louis, remember the Cardinals were pretty good when you went out there, even though they're not right now. The Mets have your number right now. We need that bounce back when they come to Philadelphia. We will see how that goes when the Phillies play the Mets next. Chicago, that Cubs team was pretty darn good when you were out there. And also the sweep at the hands of the Mets on the road. That is not a great thing for this record. You don't get swept there, all of a sudden you're not like these 3 games below 500 on the road, and we're not having this conversation. So really it comes down to one series against the Mets at this point. And I know some people are saying that's what last year came down to. It was really just one series against the Mets, and I get it. My point is this. It's early on in the season. So if anyone's getting overly concerned about the home and away splits and everything for this Philadelphia Phillies team, it's something to keep an eye on, and it's why this road trip is very important to even that out. If they go out and win 4 out of 6, well, next thing you know, that's going to be, 10-11 will be their road record, and they'll be just about 500 and well above it at home, and we'll be feeling pretty darn good. And they have a chance to do that if they win the next 2 series, and the Rays are very winnable series. So, this is not dire straits by any stretch of the imagination, but what it is an interesting trend. I just want to double check in to make sure there's nothing we're missing. Like, hey, not only have they only had 6 wins on the road, but there's only 3 teams in baseball worse than them, and all of the teams they played on the road stink. That would be red flag, alarm bells going off. That's not the case. They played some solid teams on the road. They're right about in the middle of the pack with their road record. That will be just fine when everything is all said and done for the Philadelphia Phillies. It won't be as good as their home record, but really, it shouldn't be. You'd rather them win at home, right? Most people don't travel to see their team. So if you're going to spend money to go down to the ballpark, you might as well see a victory or more victories at home than what you get on the road. But it is something that you'd like to see them correct. You want to see them be able to win other teams' buildings. So we'll see if they can do that as they take on the Tampa Bay Rays. We're going to preview that coming up next. Game one of that series, the series overall, the road trip expectations as they have back-to-back road series here. A lot of preview of what's to come the remainder of the week as the Phillies are set to play 6 times over the coming 6 days. We will discuss that coming up actually they're playing more than that. They don't have an off day until next Thursday, not this Thursday, next Thursday. But we'll preview what's to come later this week as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about game time first, though, because there's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of the ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time is going to take the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices, they drop as the game time gets closer, meaning you're going to score an incredible deal if you just hold out a little bit or if you make a late decision to go to the game. It happens all the time, right? You're sitting around with your buddies. Like, maybe you're getting lunch at work. What are you doing tonight? I got no plans. I don't know. You want to go grab a drink somewhere? No, we always go grab a drink. How about this? The Phillies are playing. Why don't we go watch them? Oh, this team's in town. Oh, a concert. Last night, Kendrick Lamar was in Philadelphia. Like, you can get tickets to comedy, concerts, theater, sports, all that stuff on Game Time. No better way to do it than just having the surprise, spontaneous night. And Game Time is the best way to do that. Or if you want to plan it out, they can help you with that as well. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll even get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed with our friends over at Game Time. All right, let's talk a little bit about this series with the Tampa Bay Rays. Down at a minor league stadium there in Florida, unfortunately for Tampa Bay, the Trop still has no roof on it. Tropicana Field was part of the hurricane destruction from this past hurricane season. Of course, we're still thinking of everybody down there in Florida. Clearly, I mean, the Rays are playing at a minor league park because their stadium doesn't have a roof on it. There's still people heavily affected by what went on. So first and foremost, this should be a reminder. People are struggling down there in Florida. Anything you can do to help at all, I'm sure would be very, very appreciated by them. Heavy ties between Philadelphia and the Tampa area because of Phillies spring training, right? And the Phillies are going to be playing in a minor league park, which maybe leads to a little bit of power number increase. The weather's supposed to be hot. Parks are smaller when you play in a minor league park. Ball flies down there in Tampa. You don't normally see it inside, but when you play outside, if you ever played baseball down there or going to a spring training game, oh yeah, you can get a little pop going. So maybe it's a strong offensive series for the Philadelphia Phillies. We're going to mainly preview game one, but real quick, I want to look at this pitching setup. The Phillies have Zach Wheeler throwing tonight. In game two, they've got Christopher Sanchez throwing. In game three, they have, Jesus Luzardo throwing. Wheeler, Sanchez, Luzardo. That's a heck of a three-man pitching matchup with the Tampa Bay Rays. That's why you feel pretty good about the Phillies' chances to go out there and find a victory against the Tampa Bay Rays. Game one tonight with Wheeler on the mound, who has started a lot of the start of series, which means the Phillies have played a bunch of three-game series and not really the four-game yet. He will be facing Drew Rasmussen, who's got a 2.64 ERA. 30 strikeouts, 0.98 whip. He's been pretty darn good righty now, so you'll have Stott leading off and everything. You'll have your normal lineup in there, I imagine, especially with the off day yesterday. But 30 strikeouts and 30 2/3 innings pitched. He's got 7 walks. He's only given up 2 homers. He's been just really darn good. He doesn't give up a lot of hits either. He's had a really nice start to the year. Tough righty to face. So he's got a bunch of lefties that hit righties well. So, tonight, I mean, the key to tonight's game is going to be Zach Wheeler being dominant, right? That's how you find your way, because I imagine Rasmussen is going to be a tough guy to get after, but Wheeler is tougher, right? Better. I mean, you look at some of his numbers, and they're not equal to what Rasmussen has done this year, but you still see a guy who's thrown 44 innings for Zach Wheeler, 57 strikeouts. He's only walked 9. He has a 1 whip even, a 3.48 ERA that honestly should be lower, but he's given up 7 home runs. Like we've talked about many times before with Wheeler, he's got to keep the ball in the park. Minor league park, it may be tougher for him to do. So Wheeler's got to be really, really good. If he goes 6 or 7 innings with 2 or less earned, the Phillies are going to win this ball game. That's going to be the key for tonight's game, and lefties hitting. For the road trip, I mean, just looking at the series against the Rays, the expectation, they're 16 and 18. They're not a bad team, but you should take 2 out of 3 from them, especially with those pitchers going. With those 3 guys on the mound, Wheeler, Sanchez, Luzardo, you should win 2 out of those 3 games against pretty much every team in baseball. So let's say you take 2 out of 3 there. Then you're going to Cleveland to face the 20 and 14 currently. We'll see what they are after they get done. They're starting a series today. Are they starting it today? Yeah, because they got rained out yesterday. Starting a series today with a doubleheader against Nationals. That's a good sign because they have an off day Thursday before the Phillies come into town Friday. But the fact that they have a doubleheader today could burn out some of their pitching for the Cleveland Guardians. So maybe that helps you out a little bit. The Nationals are not that good of a team, but they're in Washington. So the Guardians are coming back from a road trip. So who knows? I would love to see 2 out of 3 from the Rays. If they do sweep, great, because I don't know that you're winning the series in Cleveland. That's going to be a tough matchup there. If you do take care of business in Tampa and Cleveland, you come back 4-2 on this road trip. That's awesome. Like, that is a major accomplishment because you remember the last time the Phillies went out on the road? Yeah, it didn't go too well for them. Oh, and the time before that also didn't go too well for them. They have not been good on road trips this year, and that's why we talked about the road record. So if they can handle 2 okay baseball, well, 1 okay baseball team and 1 good baseball team, we're going to see them come back to Citizens Bank Park and feel pretty darn good. Also, just looking at the schedule going forward, right? After they take on the Guardians, well, they'll welcome the Cardinals, who have really started to fall off a cliff a little bit. Then the Pirates, then the Rockies, then the Athletics, then the Braves, then the Brewers. I mean, none of those teams besides the Athletics, who are 20 and 16 somehow, are over 500. Like, you don't face one other over 500 team outside of the Guardians the rest of the month of May. So if you can get through this road trip, the Phillies might go on a damn big run here when it comes to winning series and winning baseball games consistently. We talked a couple weeks ago, looking forward at May. Hey, you roll into May with some momentum, they can really get things going. Well, they kind of have, and it's time to keep that going against the Tampa Bay Rays tonight. Now, as far as who I'm looking at to stay hot, I'd expect Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper to both stay hot in this game, right? Harper hit his first home run in what feels like ages in Sunday's game. Kyle Schwarber had a home run flurry over the past couple of games at the homestand at Citizens Bank Park, so we will see if he's able to keep that going. But he normally hits in bunches, and he normally hits better when it's warm out and you're getting down to Florida where the weather is going to be really warm for this team. I want to see Kepler get rolling. I'd be pretty surprised if Schwarber, Harper, or Kepler, one of those guys did not have a home run in tonight's game or a big hit, let's just say a big extra base hit in tonight's game. Righty on the mound. Those are the guys that are hot for this team right now. Also, if Stott can keep it going, that would be really good to see against a tough righty. He's been outstanding at the top of the leadoff or at the top of the lineup in the leadoff spot. So I don't know. There's very little to complain about with the Phillies right now. We'll also take a look at the bullpen, see if the bullpen stays hot because they've been hot lately. But that's something that I'm not really counting on. I just look at what the lineup has done, and I start to say, okay, this is feeling more like a great baseball team than they were a couple weeks ago. And it's all about a question of maintaining now. The Phillies are not like just starting to work out at the gym. No, they're just trying to keep muscle, right? Which is easy to do if you've ever worked out. I don't know why that's the example that I went to, but just like they're not trying to bulk up. They're kind of where they need to be. They just need to hold off right here and not start skipping days at the gym, which would be losing, or falling in series and then start to take like backslides. No, they're on a pretty good stretch right now, and I think it's going to continue tonight. And hopefully we're talking tomorrow about going for a series win in the first 2 games, because you'd much rather live that way than lose one of the first 2 and have to take the final game of the series worried about, oh, we might lose it, focus on that. Then you got a travel day. Then you got to focus on Cleveland. It's just a lot. Just win tonight, set yourself up for an easy rest of the series. We will be breaking down what happens between the Phillies and the Rays on tomorrow's episode, but that's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for joining us again. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out. And I will talk to you tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.